is the Fox 5 News Block.
Well, the rain may have stopped, but the devastation from last night's flooding is far from over in New Jersey. 2 people are dead after their car was swept away. And across the Hudson in Westchester, some roads are still closed while people who live in the northern suburbs are assessing the damage. Good afternoon. I'm Kendall Green. Welcome to the News Block. Let's take a live look outside. We want to start with the fallout from the flash flooding that brought record rain to some parts of the tri-state. Let's bring in meteorologist Audrey Puente here with the latest. How you doing, Audrey?
Hi. It looks like we had several inches of rainfall across the tri-state area, Kendall. And right now we're pretty dry, but we do have clouds in place here. Temperatures are pretty warm, too. We're at 84 degrees in Central Park. LaGuardia is checking in at 85. We have 83 down towards Atlantic City with an overcast sky there. Not much is happening on the radar, but we are picking up a couple of showers popping up here. Some are in the Hudson Valley, some across the Jersey Shore, and out across Long Island. We're getting a few showers here, so that's something to be aware of if you'll be driving anywhere around Suffolk or Nassau County. On the North Shore here is where we're finding some of the action happening here right near Oyster Bay, right around East Northport. We're getting a little bit of a downpour, a couple of showers in and around Syosset right now. But as we go through the afternoon, there will be a continuing chance of a couple of isolated showers. There's no widespread action happening, but you can see things kind of flaring up off to the north and along the Jersey Shore as well. We do have chances of showers for the next several days, and as we go into the weekend, we could see a 50-50 chance of rain. I'll have the details coming up. Kendall?
All right, thank you, Audrey. Now to New Jersey, the Garden State getting slammed by the flash flooding. The water moving so fast, 2 people were swept away in their cars. Fox 5's Lisa Effers joins us live in Plainfield with the latest. How you doing, Lisa? Looks like we don't have Lisa there. Well, turning to Westchester County, where the Bronx River Parkway is now open and the Sawmill River Parkway is partially open after floodwaters caused significant issues for drivers overnight. Now, cars were swept. They were left stranded in the middle of the parkway and have been there ever since. In Elmsford, one woman brought her car to an auto body shop on Sawmill River Road on Monday because she needed a new tire. But her car, along with about a dozen others, were a total loss as water rose above the car windows. She now has to wait for these waters to recede before she can even think about what to do next.
Yeah, I'm upset. I want to cry. I've been crying like last night. Since I left the car here, and I broke down in front of my mom. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm overly stressed. I feel like I got the only bad luck when it comes to I want to get something done. I can't get it done, and this happens. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's really a hard time.
Westchester County Police do not have a timetable as to when the Bronx River Parkway and the Sawmill River Parkway will fully reopen. First, once all of the water recedes, they have to move all of the stranded cars out of the way and then work on reopening. Well, back here in the city, take a look at this video taken from inside the 28th Street subway station, showing water rushing throughout the platform and eventually onto the train. Officials say that station was submerged by 2.1 inches overnight, and this morning on New York 1, the MTA chairman says a lot of the intense flooding throughout the transit system is because of the city's sewer system backing up.
The stormwater management system of the city of New York, they're our partners, but that's not our infrastructure, so to speak, but it goes through the subway stations, and they don't have the capacity to deal with rainfall in excess of 1.5 to 1.75 inches in an hour.
Fortunately, all subway and train lines were back up and running by this morning's rush hour. Well, now to New Jersey. The Garden State getting slammed by the flash flooding. The water moving so fast, 2 people were swept away in their cars. Fox 5's Lisa Evers will be live in Plainfield with the latest. Lisa, how are things looking out there?
Well, Kendall, it is looking very rough for the residents of this neighborhood right on the border of Plainfield and North Plainfield. Just take a look at some of these belongings that were brought out of this house. Just one of them of many that have suffered tremendous water damage during the torrential rains. So bad. And residents who've lived here for years tell us that they have never seen it this bad. And this was a storm so severe it took the lives of 2 women who were in a car at the height of the rain when it was coming down. The water rising so fast, and they were literally swept away to their deaths. Now, many residents here on this block have got away had very little sleep last night. They were too busy trying to survive the torrential rains. Water just flooding right in through their front door. One homeowner here telling us that the water was rising up through his basement, and luckily, came into the first floor, but luckily did not reach the second floor, so they were able to stay safe up there. But it just was unbelievable for what they've been going through. Now, people you see taking stuff out, it's not just their belongings, the furniture, big pieces of furniture. And what we're looking at right here is there's just a lot of construction material here, sheetrock, walls, everything soaked. And then all afternoon too, we've been seeing people coming in, that assess the damage for water damage. You can see this whole dining room table set here was destroyed, this family's belongings, and people just trying to cope and do the best that they can, and telling us that this was just the worst they have ever seen. Here's what some of them told us.
Within an hour, they rose from the street to the house, and it stayed like that for a couple hours. Luckily, they didn't reach the second floor level. It stayed where the stairs were on the first floor.
We're in a flood zone, but it's never been this bad. It's never been this bad.
Now, Governor Murphy has declared a state of emergency here in New Jersey. And we also spoke earlier today with the mayor of Plainfield, New Jersey. He's telling us, you see all of this debris, what is now debris. They're actual household items, even refrigerators, washing machines, appliances, all completely ruined. The mayor of Plainfield told us that if any residents want to call the solid waste disposal unit of the city of Plainfield, he said that he will have them come out to these locations and pick up this debris free of charge to the residents here. So at least there's a little bit of relief for these people here as they just try to make sense of all of this, the worst that they say they've ever seen. We're live in Plainfield. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Kendall, back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks, Lisa. They need all the relief they can get. Well, we're turning to Russia, and they're responding to the President Trump's new plan to send weapons to Ukraine and threats to impose harsh penalties on Russia's trading partners if there's not a ceasefire in Ukraine. Fox's Madeline Rivera has more from Washington.
I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago.
President Trump clearly frustrated with Russia after months of failed attempts to bring an end to the fighting in Ukraine.
We want to see it end.
But on Monday, the president announced plans to sell $10 billion worth of missiles, air defense systems, and artillery shells to European allies who will then send those weapons to Ukraine.
This is only the first wave. There will be more.
President Trump gave Russian President Vladimir Putin 50 days to agree to a ceasefire, or the U.S. would target Russia's trading partners with 100% tariffs. Russia says these new actions by the U.S. and Europe conflict with their calls for the fighting to end.
It seems that such decisions made in Washington, in NATO countries, and in Brussels are perceived by the Ukrainian side as a signal for continuing the war, not a signal for peace.
The president's deadline and sanctions threat is drawing praise from both sides of the aisle.
I think that it is a remarkable turn and a very positive step.
I appreciate the effort by President Trump to entice Putin to the table.
But not everyone is cheering.
Is he just now figuring out that Ukraine is a friend to the United States of America and Russia is an enemy?
There's also a bipartisan bill on Capitol Hill that would impose more sanctions on Russia. But President Trump said on Monday he's not sure we need it. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Well, Mike Waltz is appearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for his confirmation hearing today. He is President Trump's nominee to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Now, it's the first time Tim Waltz is facing questionings from lawmakers since he was ousted as national security advisor after mistakenly adding a journalist to a private signal chat used to discuss sensitive military plans. And Waltz was removed as national security advisor in May and nominated for the UN role. Well, European Union leaders are searching for ways to push back against President Trump's tariffs, which are set to go into effect August 1st. Now, President Trump sent letters earlier this week announcing 30% tariffs against the EU and Mexico. The EU came together Monday to explore countermeasures. Leaders say they want to avoid a trade war but need to protect their best interests.
Do not want any kind of trade war with the U.S. It will be devastating, not just for the Americans, but also for Europe. So we don't want to escalate things. Then on the other hand, We also need to, I would say, flash some muscles, and I think we shouldn't leave out any possibilities.
Meantime, the EU has paused trade countermeasures against the U.S., set to go into effect this week to allow more time to negotiate a deal. Well, unreleased music, footage, show plans, and concert set list were all stolen during Beyonce's Cowboy Carter stop in Atlanta. Now, police say the theft happened on July 8th, just 2 days before the singer's 4-day Atlanta leg was set to start. 2 MacBook laptops, Apple headphones, luxury clothing, and accessories were also reported stolen. The items were taken from a car rented by the singer's choreographer and a dancer. Atlanta police say they have secured an arrest warrant for a suspect. The suspect's identity has not been yet released. Well, the nominations are out for the 77th Emmy Awards, and Severance leads the way with 27 nominations, including Best Drama Series. The other nominees are Andor, The Diplomat, The Last of Us, Paradise, The Pit, Slow Horses, and The White Lotus. The nominees for Best Comedy Series are Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murderers in the Building, Shrinking, The Studio, and What We Do in the Shadows. The 77th Primetime Emmy Awards air September 14th. Well, Los Angeles hosted a ceremony today to mark 3 years until the start of the 2028 Summer Olympics. The city will host the Summer Olympics for the first time since 1984. To mark the official countdown, the Play LA program hosted 700 children for a day of free sports workshops. The community gathered for torch lighting. Mayor Bass also announced the full schedule for the games, including the first award ceremony, which will take place at Venice Beach. Well, let's bring in meteorologist Audrey Pente for a look at the forecast. It was horrible yesterday.
Yes.
How long is this going to go on?
Well, at least the mugginess and the humidity will definitely stick with us, Kendall, but the rain showers, not so much. We have a couple of pop-up showers, but we're not expecting any heavy rainfall like we saw across the region yesterday. You still want to have your umbrella handy, though, if you're heading out for the afternoon hours. And we're really watching this cold front that's way out to our west. That one's going to spark off more widespread activity as we go further on into the week. So look at the futurecast shows a couple of pop-up isolated showers for the rest of the day, and then things will kind of die off after sunset tonight. We'll have a quiet evening. We'll start off pretty quiet tomorrow, too. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, but then after about lunchtime, we'll see more pop-up showers developing. Now, in the afternoon, there could be some thunderstorms, at least isolated thunderstorms firing through, and then we'll be watching for that cold front to make its approach from the west. That will affect the tri-state area later on in the week here, probably Thursday afternoon, is where we're going to see showers and storms develop here, especially ahead of that front, and some of them could be pretty strong. So for today, we're looking at a high of 87. We'll be in the 90s starting tomorrow. Kendall?
All right, thanks, Audrey. Keep the umbrellas handy. Well, that's your news block for now. I'm Kendall Green. Thank you for joining us. Tune into the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 and right here on Fox Local for all the day's news as it develops. We'll see you back here tomorrow.